Hey everybody, how's it going? Today we're going to be going over and showing you how to install the Aries round Nerf bars here on a 2022 Nissan Frontier. So these are what our Nerf bars look like installed on our vehicle here. Now for starters, there is two different color options. We have the black powder coated ones, which is what we have on the vehicle now. And there's also a polished steel option as well, which is sort of like a silver or chrome look. So it's really just going to come down to preference. They're both great options. So these are 3-inch round Nerf bars here, which is referring to the diameter of the bar here. And the step pads are 20 inches long. There's actually two step pads, one for the front door and then one for the rear door. So these here are a pretty common design as far as Nerf bars go in regards to that 3-inch diameter. And the step pad there is nice and long there, so it gives you plenty of traction to get in and out of the vehicle. So I personally really love the look of Nerf bars on a truck here. I really think the black ones look really great on this truck here when you match it with all the other black trim pieces. So not only do they look great though, they're also very functional. Now granted, the Frontier really doesn't sit that high, but they're still gonna help us get in and out of the vehicle much easier. That traction pad there, it's gonna do a great job of making sure we don't slip and slide, whether it's been raining outside or there's mud and snow on the ground. Now I know just this past weekend, my grandma had a tough time getting in my truck because she's much older there and they just simply can't climb in those taller trucks nowadays. So having those Nerf bars on there is really gonna help some of your older passengers or just help you when you're getting in and out of your truck every day. As you can see here, just put one foot on the Nerf bar there, step the other one into the vehicle, and it just makes things much easier. And then same thing for the rear as well. That step pad is going to be located pretty much in the center of the door there, right where you would be stepping. We can easily get our foot on there and get in and out of our truck. Now, one thing I do want to point out is, so I got some pretty big boots on here. I believe these are about 11s, and I have no problem getting a nice grip there on that pad there, fitting my entire boot on there pretty much, so I can get a nice secure traction getting in and out of the truck. So in regards to installation, I really don't think it gets much simpler than this. In fact, I would say these are probably the easiest to install Nerf boards that I have ever done before. There's already going to be factory studs on the vehicle. You just lift the brackets on and then you secure all the hardware. I really don't think it should take you guys more than a couple hours, and I certainly wouldn't pay anyone to do this. Just a basic common tool set and you can get this done in a few hours by yourself at home and in your driveway. So the first step of your installation, you want to get all of your kit components out of the box there, lay everything out in front of you so you can start organizing it between sides. Now we're going to be starting on the passenger side here. It doesn't matter if you start on the driver or the passenger side. Just keep in mind that the actual steps and the brackets are different from each side. And we also want to pay close attention to where we have our brackets oriented. So let's go ahead and focus on that now. So our brackets are all going to look the same, but there are some minor differences. So what we're going to be looking for, first of all, there's going to be 3 of these per side. So the thing we're going to be paying attention to is this part here. So we see we have this little rounded part here with the 2 oblong holes. That's going to be the same between all the brackets. The part that's different are these 2 oblong holes up here. And what we're looking for is their offset. So you can kind of see these 2 holes are offset here to the right side as opposed to the left side. You can see there's quite more space over here than there is here. So this offset is going to be facing towards the front of the vehicle. So just as a frame of reference, we're at the very front of the vehicle. On the passenger side, we want our offset facing towards the front of the vehicle. Now let's move over here to our center bracket on the passenger side. We can see our offset here is facing the rear of the vehicle. And then we'll move back to our last bracket here at the rear on the passenger side. We can see our offset is facing towards the front of the vehicle. So go ahead and take some time now, lay all your brackets out, and make sure the offsets are in the correct locations. So now we're going to begin securing our brackets to the vehicle. So we're going to start with these 2 holes here. There's actually going to be 2 studs on sort of the back side of this rocker panel on our truck here. So we'll give you a closer look at that in a second, but basically we're just going to hook these onto the studs to go through those holes there. And then we're going to secure it to the vehicle with a flat washer, a split lock washer, and a hex nut. And these are M8 hardware that come in your kit. They come in the small bag here. So we're going to need 2 of each of those per bracket here. So here's a closer look at those studs. And again, we're just on the back side of the rocker panel. And we're going to be looking at the studs closest to the front of the vehicle. So you'll just take your bracket there, go ahead and line up the 2 holes. Pretty simple. And then one hand you're going to use to hold the bracket on. The other one you're going to use to insert your hardware. You're going to start at that top one there, place a flat washer over there, a split lock washer, and then a hex nut. We'll go ahead and thread these on just hand tight. Now sometimes there's a little bit too much paint on those studs there, so you can't thread it anymore by hand. So we're going to go ahead and come back with a socket, a 13mm socket, and we're just going to begin threading that nut on just so it's snug to the bracket. But you don't want to tighten these too tight because we still need to adjust these a little bit before we tighten everything down. So I can only get them started a couple turns here by hand, so now I'm going to come back with my socket there and just snug them up. So you can see here, I still have some movement in our bracket, so we can make some final adjustments there. We don't want to tighten it down too much yet. But we've got the first one on. We're just going to repeat that same process for our two other brackets on the side. The process is the exact same. Just make sure you pay attention to where your offset is. So now we're going to take our passenger side Nerf bar. Now these are side specific, and it's on one of these ends here. It's going to stamp D or P for driver or passenger side. So make sure to look for that so you know you have the correct one. But now we'll just go ahead and set it on our brackets here. You're going to be roughly lining up the weld nuts in the bottom of the bar with the holes in your bracket. So now we're going to take our M8 bolts. So these are already pre-assembled. They're in a separate bag as the hardware used to secure the brackets to the frame. And we'll just secure the bars to the brackets there. So there's oblong holes in the brackets, and there's weld nuts in the bars. They thread in pretty smoothly, so we'll just go ahead and do that for each of our three brackets over on this side. And again, just hand tight for now. So now that we have our bars in place, we're going to go ahead and start tightening down our hardware. We're going to start with the hardware that secures the brackets to the body of the vehicle, and we'll be using a 13mm socket. Now there aren't any torque specs in your instructions, so we're just going to tighten them down until we collapse that lock washer. So now we're going to tighten down the bolts which secure the Nerf bars to the brackets. Now you may need to rotate these slightly so they're sitting nice and flat there when you're getting out of the vehicle. They're not cocked in either direction. So once you get them where you want them, we'll just go ahead and tighten them down. So now that we have this side on, we're just going to repeat those same few steps over on the other side of the vehicle. It will be the exact same. Just make sure you again pay attention to the offsets on your brackets. So now that we have our other side on, that's going to do it today for our look and installation of the Aries round Nerf bars here on our 2022 Nissan Frontier.